Jaffer Dhalla with us once again. She is really the spine of Radio ProLearning. Shyrose is a renowned religious speaker and has a degree in psychology and sociology, as well as a graduate degree in the field of education. She was awarded the 2012 Award of Excellence by Ahlul TV channel for her outstanding contributions to female public speaking. Welcome to Radio ProLearning, Shyrose.
Hi, Sarah. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm missing your face here at the studios.
Yes, the weather is not so great, so I decided to stay home today.
I know. Okay, Cheryl, so we're talking about pursuit of happiness, which was your topic last week, and we are continuing again on it. It has received a great feedback, and our listeners have asked for more tips on the steps needed to be more happy. So could you tell us more about the kind of habits that happy people have?
Well, I'm glad that we're able to continue this topic because there are some points that we hadn't been able to touch on. If you remember, last week we talked about how happy people surround themselves with other happy people because joy is contagious, right? And we talked about how smiling itself, and especially when it's a genuine smile, triggers the brain to reconcile with the other systems, and so that, tells itself it is happy. And then there were other things that happy people do. For example, they cultivate resilience. They learn to go with the knocks in life and handle things in a positive way. And they actively try to be happy. They enjoy the here and now. There's another thing that we find research shows that, and this was a study published in the Journal of Health Psychology, that people who exercise tend to be happier. And this, incidentally, has nothing to do with whether they're actually losing weight. The study has found that exercise improved how people felt, not only about their bodies, because they didn't really lose weight or even achieve noticeable improvements, but what it did was exercise releases endorphins. And endorphins make you happy, right? So these are those happy chemicals that are released when the heartbeat goes up a little bit. So exercise has been shown to ease symptoms of depression, anxiety, stress, and these brain chemicals, they amplify feelings of happiness and relaxation. That's why we hear of a phenomenon called runner's high. And it's a state of euphoria that runners experience.
What is it called again? I just have to stop you. Runners?
Runner's high.
Oh, so, runner's high, okay.
It's like almost like a drug-induced kind of feeling where you feel euphoric, even though your body is really exhausted, but it's you're flying, your heart's flying, and you feel really happy. So another thing that researchers have found, and other studies published in the Journal of Environmental Psychology, the people who actually step outside the house, when you go outside, you feel alive. And the research finds that just 20 minutes of fresh air promotes a sense of vitality. And, we often feel we need to go for a cup of coffee when we feel down, but actually what energizes us is to take some fresh air. And there is a phenomenon called SAD, a seasonal affect disorder, and this is a depression that hits people who spend time in countries, especially where there isn't much sunshine. And we find people in Vancouver, for example, or London, and places where the sun doesn't come out that much, they experience this complete down simply because they're not seeing light. So going outside gives you a natural boost, and it's important to spend time outside. Another thing that researchers find happy people do, and this is a habit, is that they sleep often. They sleep on time. They get enough sleep. I know when you talk about waking up on the wrong side of the bed, it's not just a myth. This is really true. That when you don't get enough sleep, you get bad moods, irritability, or lack of clarity, poor judgment, unable to follow people's sentences, and studies find that moody people and people with lots of anxiety are often the ones who don't sleep so well. Another thing researchers are saying really is a quality of happy people is something we've all heard before. Laughter is the best medicine. So they actually laugh out loud, right? So they actually, chuckle and laugh, and what happens is that it releases happy brain chemicals like the endorphins we talked about, giving an exuberant buzz, makes us tolerate pain and stress. And you've heard about the laugh therapy we've seen in India, where people just, groups of people just laugh loudly, and then it makes people laugh so hard that they cry. And interestingly, the research is finding, and this is a 2010 study on laughter's effect on the body, they said that some of the benefits that you get from laughing is actually repetitive laughter. What happens is it's as good as working out, and it promotes a healthy immune system, control your appetite, improve cholesterol, all through laughter. Interesting, isn't it? And another thing, habit of happy people is that they walk with a positive stride. This is a very interesting study. It was done by a researcher who asked people to walk for 3 minutes, and taught half the people to walk with their hands down. This was done in Florida Atlantic University by Dr. Sarah Snodgrass. And so they asked people to walk with their hands down and their heads down, hands and heads down, just kind of walk. And then the others were told to swing their arms and to hold their heads up high. A happy walk. And they found that the people who walked with that happy walk actually reported feeling happier afterwards. There was there was evidence of them feeling better. So body language makes a great difference to ourselves. Our body tries to reconcile. Another great thing that we need to do is to be optimistic. Studies are finding, this is especially written by Dr. Martin Seligman, who I mentioned last week, the father of positive psychology. He talks about how there's a learned optimism. His book's called Learned Optimism. He talks about how people who are happier are the ones who choose to see a silver lining. They are choosing health and happiness. And then you've got the pessimists who want to believe that bad events will last a long time, and it's not going to help me, it'll undermine everything I do, and it's my fault. The optimists, on the other hand, they're the ones who, they're getting the same hard knocks in life, but they think about misfortune in the opposite way. They think of it as a temporary setback, and they say, well, this is one case. I'll do better next time. So they talk themselves out of feeling sad. The optimists believe defeat is not their fault. It's circumstance. It's bad luck. Somebody else did it, but I can handle this. They're unfazed by defeat. So confronted by a bad situation, they perceive it as a challenge and they try harder.
So Shyrose, you have given us so many pointers how to be happy and what are the habits of positive, happy people. Smile and try to be happy, laughing, walking with a positive stride, maybe just walk for 3 minutes, hands up and swinging. You talk about the theory of positive psychology. You talk about exercising, and then because that releases endorphins, which is, of course, connected with the runner's high. Tell our listeners a little bit about, how does spending money on yourself make you happy? Maybe treating yourself and splurging on a new outfit or an expensive purse or a flashy new car. Does it really make you feel happy? Spending money?
Well, it sounds like it really would. But the studies find the opposite. Studies find that money does buy happiness, but it's only when people spend money on others. Interesting study in Science Journal found that people who spend money on other people there's a more direct impact on happiness than spending money on oneself. There's something called, like we talked about the runner's high, there's something called the helper's high. And research has found that people who give, especially people who donate a large amount of money, they experience a euphoric state. Now, you'd have thought that they'd be feeling really bad about the money they gave, but research is finding they experience a physical response, a euphoric state, it's a literal high similar to a drug-induced high. And researchers have found that the act of making a financial donation, and even incidentally small amounts, whatever a person can handle, it triggers the reward center in our brains that is responsible for dopamine-mediated euphoria. It's so interesting because we thought that, if we give, it's going to make us feel depressed afterwards. They found that happy people, they devote some of their time also to giving, not just their money, but even their time, that even though they're only 24 hours in a day, positive people, they fill some of that time doing good for others, and that has an effect on the do-gooders themselves. So there is a payback. It's maybe altruism motivated, but in the end, it does have a positive effect on us.
Mm-hmm. So it is connected to the saying that a giving hand is better than a begging hand. And that makes you happy. So if spending money on yourself doesn't make you necessarily happier, does spending time on yourself at least make you happier?
Well, definitely we do need to spend a little bit of time on ourselves. Just taking the time to get dressed. They find that depressed people can feel much better when they take some time to take a proper bath, to take time to think a little. We need space, definitely, so we can reflect and think. But research has found, and there's a long-term research project called Americans Changing Lives, and they found that people who do volunteer work, who are giving their free time to others, they found that it's doing a lot of good for those people, both mentally and physically. And people of all ages who volunteered were happier, experienced better physical health, less depression. It's amazing, especially because volunteer work has many other positive effects. You make new friends. You increase your social and relationship skills. It gives you the opportunity to really spend time with others and to see the less fortunate. And researchers talk about the happiness effect, helping others kindle happiness. Studies have found, researchers at London School of Economics examined the relationship between volunteering and measures of happiness in a large group of American adults. And they found that people who were volunteering, they felt happier. Those who had never volunteered, the odds of being very happy, they couldn't reach those. Those who were, in fact, they found something very interesting. They found a hike in happiness for those who volunteered. It was comparable to having an income of $75,000 or more. Oh. So it's almost like being a millionaire when you are giving money to others and time to others. It's amazing.
Awesome. I really like the idea that volunteerism is connected to happiness, because Radio ProLearning does promote the spirit of volunteerism, and so I'm so happy to hear that. The more you volunteer, the more happy you'll become, and the richer person you will become. So, Shyrose, you touched upon an intriguing topic last week, and you said that there is a positive correlation link between being spiritual and being happy. Could you elaborate a little bit on that, please?
Yes, we talked about how religion and happiness is a correlation, and especially because religion features many of the elements addressed in the components of happiness. Positive thinking, giving to others, forgiving, etc., etc. All those things that happy people, the qualities that we find. And we talked about last week profane time as opposed to spiritual time, that sacred time compared to profane time. And Emil Durkheim talked about this famous researcher who talked about how people who take time to reflect, and especially religious people have that inculcated into their religious practices, where they have to take time out of their day to unplug and to really spend time reflecting upon the meaning of life and the higher purpose, etc. They do feel better, and they feel healthier. And researchers are talking about a neuropsychological benefit of prayer and belief. It actually makes a person calm down. For example, yoga, which makes you sit down and breathe. These are ways to make your stress levels go down, and a lot of religious prayer has that incorporated into it. If you look at the way the Muslims pray, there is a lot of yoga involved in those positions right there and there. So there is a definite link between religious and spiritual practice, and we need to do whatever it takes to basically slow down. And religion does give us a lot of that, and especially there's another thing, it allows us to believe in some higher authority that can make things better. So even if our lives feel like it's hopeless, we can turn to a deity that can make things better. That's what researchers are finding.
Okay, so that's very enlightening indeed about connection of happiness with volunteerism, with spirituality, with just putting a smile on your face. So it's actually very enlightening, Shyrose, what you're telling us. I'm curious then, what kind of habits do happy people avoid?
Researchers finding that happy people do spend less screen time. Technology has great benefits, but it does isolate us. It does make us connected to people who don't really exist. This social media thing, thousands of friends, but not really any friend in real life to talk to. It does have an adverse effect on us. So whether by meditating, taking a few breaths away, or by deliberately disconnecting our electronics, happy people avoid this thing. They literally unplug from the hyper-connected world. They avoid this habit of being on their cell phones all the time, because it does increase, studies have found, increase your blood pressure, rises your stress level. So uninterrupted screen time has been linked to depression and fatigue. And
I have to just cut you down, Shyrose. We're just short of time, but it's so awesome to have you, an honor to have you always. Thank you so much. Next Sunday with a different topic. Thank you so much. Always, life is short, and enjoy it thoroughly. Stop holding onto grudges. Stay away from negative people and negative energy, and follow your dreams. Be your own miracle. That was Sarah Bukhari at Radio ProLearning, FM 101.3. See you next Sunday. Good night. Sleep tight.